Alright guys, this will be a personal log and update video to basically give you some perspective on what has been recently going on internally here in regards to this YouTube channel, in regards to me myself personally. As you may know, I have already changed my gamer tag recently to Salient Strike, and that is to basically establish a new front for basically a gamer tag unit that I'm developing. Historically, clans have had these kinds of aspects to their organizations where they will have certain gamer tag groups within their own clan. Usually it's a predominant one, usually not in the case where there's multiple ones, unless it's a fallen one or a weakened one which is operating inside another clan. You know, we've seen this dynamic before, and that's basically what the Salients are. The Salients are an adaptation to what the Sentries were going to be had they continued in full force, which they ultimately did not. However, there's still some, packets, and there are still some groups, but generally speaking, the Salients are basically the modern adaptation and the upgrade to that. And to clarify, they are a divergent group from the Halcyons. So it has nothing really tied to the Halcyons. It is more so centered around an adaptation from the Sentries. That's what the Halcyons kind of were going to be in regards to the Sentries, but obviously that did not take off as well. But either way, from however you look at it, the Salients will be starting up, and they are already in the works. And this is going to be an elongated plan. It's going to be an elongated group operating for about the next 5 years at least. So the history and what we will do with it is ultimately going to be a very large challenge. It's ultimately up to us, and we'll have to see how things go with that. But generally speaking, we will continue down this line. This will be my final kind of gamer tag iteration, and to where I'm in a position of leadership for this group. So we will be trying and experimenting with what we can, and we're just looking here in the HMC channel here. I always like to do these little commentaries or update videos, looking into the community itself. But generally speaking, from my part and our new group's part, we are an adaptation from the Sentries, and we are going to be taking that further from what they were, obviously focusing on those shortcomings and improving from where we were obviously not so great. Every group has to go through an evolution and adaptation phase, and sometimes it takes multiple attempts. Sometimes you have to experiment things very radically and then take it back to a more moderate tone, which is exactly what the Salients are. It's not as radicalized as what the Halcyons were, but it's more of a moderate step forward. So it's very interesting in that aspect. Usually it's a very radical push to a different direction, but with the Salients, it's more of a returning to the old with a new perspective and strategy in mind that is going to ultimately probably pan out decently. We're not saying this will be the most important group yet. Obviously, the Sentries kind of have that, handed down. They were part of a very enriched environment. Ultimately, they will be a very legendary group, much like other gamertag groups that operated inside this community. And ultimately, no group is above all others, really. And if you believe so, then you are solely wrong for believing that, because that is not the way things work here. Every group has its pros and cons. And although some people don't have as creative of gestures, the end result can lead to something very unique and interesting. At the end of the day, when it comes down to RP clans, it's all about your own take and creativity to build yourself a platform. So really, it's however you want to take it. Everybody has their own approach, so we should respect that. Obviously, this is judging within the military perspective of the military community. This is not really applied to UNSC tag groups or anything of that nature. So this is more localized and domestic in that sense. So the Salients will be upcoming, and it will be kind of like a modern resurgence of the centuries over time. But it will be conducted very carefully, very methodically. Generally, these things are never rushed, so they won't be. So hopefully that makes some sense there. Recently, I've been just trying to modernize the YouTube channel. I've looked into certain areas in terms of the editing and what I'll be doing for the future, and I have a general idea of what we're going to do with it. So definitely stay tuned and stay subscribed to this channel, because there will be upcoming content into the future, and certainly going into Halo Infinite. So it isn't the end here. Halo 5 was just more of an unfavorable take and something I didn't really personally agree with on too many levels. So I wasn't too enthused with the relative outcome of how Halo 5 has transpired so far. So take that as you will, but ultimately we'll be trying to do something within our own. And this is just kind of a little update here, and I would continue further here, but I'm just going to make this brief in regards to what the Salients are and kind of what they're trying to do. There will be more detail to follow, but generally, guys, just stick around. We'll see what we can do, and we will definitely commentate on other community topics. So thank you, and that has been an update. If you guys have any questions or further comments, you can contact my Discord. It's right here. That is my official tag. I'm not going to change this probably for a long time. So obviously there's my contact information if you ever do so need it. So that is that, guys, and I appreciate you tuning in. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we will touch base on more topics in the future. So thank you.